All right, well, my editing skills are crap, but can the same thing be said about Independence Day Resurgence? Stick around and find out. All right. Um, well, let's talk about this movie. 20 years after defeating the first alien attack, the aliens have returned in far greater force, and the human race must use alien technology they've adapted into their lives to stop the aliens from destroying all life on the planet. The scale is epic. The doom is massive. But do you feel that in any of this movie? Jeez. Now, I liked the original Independence Day when it came out. I was the target audience for that. There had not been movies like that before. There were lots of movies that imitated it afterward. We kind of got this whole genre of like sci-fi action disaster movies. Sometimes it was an intelligent threat. Sometimes it was just some kind of natural disaster, like something going on the moon, and or now we got big earthquakes and stuff, and we need this crack team of quirky individuals to help save the day. You know, the Michael Bay Transformers movies, I think, are good examples of movies that have taken this mold and run with it over the course of the years. But what I was really curious about is, was this movie going to stay in that mold? Or was it going to, like the original Independence Day did, bring us something new that we hadn't experienced before, a different feel, and different kinds of things? You know, before the first Independence Day, we really hadn't seen sci-fi action like this since arguably Star Wars, you know, with all these different fighters flying around and shooting each other, you know, with laser guns and whatever, you know. You know, does this thing deliver and kind of have the same kind of impact that the first one did? Well, 10 minutes into this movie, I wanted out of this theater so badly. It is a faithful recreation of the mold from the first movie. You know, it's got big action, huge stakes, lots of jokes and humorous character behavior. Again, I have a very specific sense of humor that most movies don't hit. So I mean, don't judge whether or not I think something is funny to determine, you know, whether it's going to be funny for you. It's probably going to be funny for a lot of people. There was at least one lady in our theater, which didn't have any people. It was an early morning show. At least one person was laughing at most of the jokes, you know. But you know, it's got big stakes and then lots of jokes and character behavior that kind of goes against the cataclysmic events taking place. You know, these wisecracking heroes and protagonists that are behaving in ways that people really wouldn't behave in were they in these cataclysmic circumstances where so much is against them, and it basically looks like the end of the world, and tons of people are dying by the thousands, you know. So much that characters say and do in this movie makes no logical sense, and it ignores the most basic human psychology. You know, everyone's kind of a wisecracker in the face of doom, you know. And again, I think there may be an audience for that. There certainly was when this type of movie was first created in the original Independence Day. There was one surprising father-daughter moment that made me feel something genuinely, briefly, but it was there and gone, and it's probably just because I am a dad and I'm a softie, you know. So the original, well, like I said, okay, I've talked about the original Independence Day. Let's see here. This movie, you know, is not being released in that context that I set up for the original, you know, Independence Day. So I think that's one thing that works against it. And just like having the aliens, you know, be in a bigger ship and have the threat be bigger, for me, it didn't do enough to compensate for the fact that you know, we're not otherwise getting anything that's really new in terms of what kind of a movie experience we're having here. But I think that if you enjoy the sci-fi disaster movies of that period, if you enjoy the Michael Bay Transformer movies for what they are, and you just are able to kind of say to yourself, it's just it's a big spectacle, popcorn, you know, summer flick, and I don't need all the character psychology and character motivations to make sense and stuff. I mean, if that's you, then this could totally be a fun movie for you. That's just not the type of experience that I enjoy. it's they actually set up a sequel at the end of this movie, so I'm all the more interested to see how audiences respond to this kind of movie today. How big is the audience for this kind of thing? Judging by the Marvel movies and how they, in a similar way, have these big stakes often, but they still have lots of people wisecracking and joking, and there's not that kind of psychological weight to it. Then maybe there is an audience. Although I will say that this one is even more jokey and more silly than the Marvel movies, and so maybe I'm wondering if even people that kind of enjoy that style, of sci-fi action movie that the Marvel movies do, if even this might be too much for them. I don't know. I'll be very curious. I would love to get your thoughts. There's lots of returning cast, and it's interesting. It's a bit of like a where are they now reunion, but all of them do really a fine job, I think, for the type of movie that this is. Even Brent Spiner returns as mad scientist what's his face, and he has this great kind of actor's moment where he mourns someone's death, and I was like, wow, he's really putting on a really solid, maybe even a great performance here. Tears welling up in his eyes, and I could just see he was like, oh man, he's going at it. Is that how you say his last name? Spiner? I think it's Spiner. Anyway, he played Data on the Star Trek Next Generation. Anyway, he did a great job in this really kind of dramatic moment, and despite the fact that the editing, the script, and stuff made that dramatic moment like it meant nothing to me. I felt nothing in that moment, but I was thinking, oh well, he's really bringing the goods here. Good for him, So there are some other instances of things like that where actors are sometimes surprisingly invested, despite the script giving them seemingly nothing to work with. Maybe there was more in the script itself about like subtext and stuff, but just based on the dialogue and the way the final thing was edited, it just didn't seem like that kind of movie. And so it was a pleasant surprise now and then when an actor would bring something that I felt like, wow, that is totally them bringing their A game. That is not the script working hard. There was lots of CG sci-fi action, space fighters flying around and shooting, and laser guns, aliens, and a bunch more than in the original movie, of course. It all looks great, I think. I'm cursed with an eye for CG, so to me, it looks like CG, but it looks like cool CG, There's cool designs for the spaceships and the aliens that, to me, they felt derivative, very much inspired by or based on other things, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes you just want to scratch that itch and have this kind of derivative thing, So I think that it still looked cool, So I think, if you just want to have cool spaceships and cool, very Ridley Scott inspired, alien type stuff going on, then I think you'll have that itch scratched a little bit in this movie. So is there anything of worthwhile moral, spiritual, philosophical significance that's brought up in this movie? Any themes that might spark worthwhile thought or conversation during or after watching this movie? Maybe. I really have to reach. There's some briefly touched political themes of peace, world unity, and diplomacy before entering into combat. Those are worthwhile themes, but they're handled so simplistically, and they're surrounded by so much kind of light popcorn type of content that I doubt many will give those themes a single thought, if they're even aware of them. Now, I have no idea what your tastes are, but hopefully I gave you some information to figure out if this is going to be the experience for you or not. But if I were traveling back in time and talking to myself, I'd say, Pater, freaking run away from this movie. Oh my gosh, run. You're going to be counting the minutes, and we'll feel a rush of relief, even excitement during the climax when, no spoilers, when they announce, we've only got 2 minutes until the climax plot device activates. When I heard that, I was like, okay, 2 minutes. I can do this. Stay home, Pater. Watch some more of that Battlestar Galactica Blu-ray set that you bought recently. This one's rated PG-13 for sequences of sci-fi action and destruction and for some language. Again, I'd really be interested in your thoughts if you go out and see this movie. I'd like to know, is there an audience for this kind of experience? Just as an entertainer and a fiction writer and producer myself, I'm always interested in kind of what people are kind of connecting with. So I'd love to get your thoughts on what you thought of this movie. Those are mine. I'm all done. I am releasing the trailer this weekend for Spirit Blade: A World of Shadows, which is the cap off of the trilogy for the Spirit Blade audio drama trilogy. And if you go over to our other channel, Spirit Blade Videos on YouTube, Spirit Blade Videos, then you'll be able to get that trailer sometime today. Then I hope you will like, share, and subscribe. You know, if you like this video and want to share it and want more videos like it, that'd be helpful. And then please do visit christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out, get the button ready, and seek the truth.